Welcome to our first lesson that is kind of like a lecture online. Again, this is kind of in a video form. Rather than putting this up on the screen and having you guys take notes over it in a PowerPoint, it's just better to kind of put it on a video. And like I said at the start of the semester, this will allow you to kind of take notes at your own pace. So you can pause the video if you'd like. You can also rewind and listen to me if you need to. Keep in mind that it's not only important that you write down, but you also listen to my voice because I'm going to be giving you some context about the notes that we take in this class, and that will include our very first assignment here, which is called Evaluating Online Sources. So what I want you to do is go ahead and take your notebook and turn to the very first kind of right side page, which is probably going to be the very first one inside of your notebook. Not probably, it's going to be the very first one inside your notebook. Up at the very top of the page, make sure that you headline it, Evaluating Online Sources. And again, if you see this R right here, you'll just notice that means it's a right side assignment. All right, so today we're going to be talking about being sure that you are careful about your online researching and making sure that your information is coming from a reliable source. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I'm giving you the freedom on some topics to actually do your own research using the University of Google, and that's what we talked about on the very first day. I'm going to tell you, go to Google, just kind of Google something about camera lenses. I will give you a series of questions to answer in your notes, and it'll be up to you to kind of go out there and find that research. But in order to do that, you've got to make sure that it's coming from a reliable source, okay? So just remember, everybody, not everything on the internet is true. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? I don't know if you've seen the State Farm commercial or not, but I will go ahead and play it. And this is just a good illustration of what I'm talking about.
Hey, Mike, what are you up to?
Just diagramming this accident with my State Farm Pocket Agent app. You can also get a quote and pay your premium with this thing.
I thought State Farm didn't have all those apps.
Where'd you hear that?
The internet.
And you believed it?
Yeah, they can't put anything on the internet that isn't true.
Where'd you hear that? The internet.
Oh, look, here comes my date. I met him on the internet. He's a French model.
Bonjour. State Farm. More mobile than ever. Get to a better state.
All right, so you guys kind of get the point on that. Again, not everything on the internet is true. The internet is an open source of information. Anybody can put anything on there. So it's just really important that you be skeptical and make sure that you look at the source and make sure that what you are getting is reliable information. There's a couple ways that you can do that, okay? Let's look at the authority of a web page. When you open up a web page, there's a couple things that you should be asking yourself, including who is the author or the producer of the document or the web page. If you're going and doing a search over something that is medical, if it's coming from a medical authority like a hospital or like the American Lung Association, if you're looking up lung cancer, we can probably deduce that the American Lung Association is going to have a good, solid web page for information over lung cancer. But if you go to Bob's blog on lung cancer, I mean, yes, Bob may have had lung cancer. He may have known someone that had lung cancer, but Bob is probably not a doctor. He's probably just blogging about it or just putting information up there. So again, be skeptical. Is this author or producer an expert on the subject as indicated in the credentials page? Just kind of talked about that a second ago. Is the sponsor location of the site appropriate to the materials as shown in the URL? What does that mean? That means if you're looking up something on photography, it should probably have the title photography or something of that type in the web address. If it doesn't have that, you never know. It may not be about photography. It may not be about lenses. It may not be about pictures. So again, just double check that. Then finally, does the author or producer allow for feedback or submission of questions? Now, this is very important because usually legitimate websites that have legitimate information want to improve upon themselves. So somewhere on that website, we may have to dig for it or look for a tab that says contact or feedback. We'll want to get that feedback so they can improve upon their site. The people who are generally trying not necessarily to be sneaky or lying about it, if they're unsure about the information they put up there, they don't want their card pulled. They don't want to find out, oh, hey, what you put on there was wrong. They would have to go back there and take it down as well too. All right, so again, that kind of covers authority. Next is make sure you know what URLs actually stand for. Okay, here's a list of some common ones that we see a lot. Obviously, the second one there, .com, for commercial products or commercially sponsored sites. edu for educational or research material, government for government resources, Down at the bottom, we also have ORG for nonprofit organizations. So here's a list. Go ahead and get them in your notebook really quick, and you can pause this video. I'm going to go ahead and move on, but you can pause it here and write it down, all right? Accuracy is the next thing, all right? Is the information reliable, or is it free from error? Is there a way to verify the information? Now, I would strongly encourage you, don't just go to one website and say, okay, I read it here, it's from Digital Photography School, it's got to be legit. Well, sure, there's a really good chance that that information is legit, but what you want to do is you want to confirm it. Go to another website and see if you can confirm that information. Once you can cross-confirm it or confirm it with other websites, you know that that information is good. You also know that information is reliable. And lastly, can you detect any political, ideological, or religious bias? There's a lot of websites out there that are put up there that are very direct or very biased towards one side or the other, whether it's political, whether it's ideological, or whether it's religious in nature. Probably won't run into a lot of these websites when it comes to photography until we get to the unit on ethics. Every once in a while, you may see some biased websites in there as well, too. Okay. The next is timeliness. When was the information posted, or when was it last updated? If you're on a website and it hasn't been updated in 10 years, since 2003 or even 2008, that might be a red flag. It needs to be really updated within the last year to 6 months to really be somewhat of a reliable and up-to-date information on source. Try to find some information from a website that was updated very recently. Excuse me, guys. So, if the information is old, probably not reliable because it's not going to be up to date. And then finally, do the links still work? If not, again, that's an indication that the site has not been updated recently as well too. Probably shouldn't be a question mark there, but we'll go ahead and forget it. One other thing, guys, I just want to point out really quick before we go to purpose, and I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning, and I do apologize for doing that. I am trying to get these lectures done in one take, so I don't have to spend too much time going back and editing, so we're going to try it this time. Before you write down the purpose things, I do want you to listen to this really quick. There's going to be some slides I put up here that have a lot of information. You don't necessarily have to write stuff down word for word. I want you to get the main bullet points up there, but feel free to abbreviate. Feel free to summarize. That's really what you guys are going to need to be doing when you take notes. That's an important thing. All right. So, again, what's the purpose of the website? What appears to be the purpose of the information? All right. Is it there to inform others of new research? Is it there to summarize the current status of research interest? Is it an advocate on a position of the subject? Does it stimulate further discussion, or is it there to publicize a product? All right. Now, I will tell you, I have seen some photography websites where they are trying to sell a product. You want to be a little bit weary of that, because when they're trying to sell a product, they're going to say that maybe this lens or this camera will be far better than this one. We have to stay kind of unbiased on this. We just want to know how cameras work and not necessarily which one is the best one out there. All right. So if you ever go to a website and you kind of feel like they're trying to sell me something, that's another kind of red flag where you can say, maybe this isn't quite what I was looking for. All right. Next is the audience. Who is the intended audience? Is it for beginners, experts, professionals, advocates, or consumers? For you guys, you are at the beginner stage of photography. It doesn't matter if you've been taking photos for several years now. You are the beginners. You're not experts and you're not professionals. You're not getting paid to do it. You're not an expert. That would be kind of similar to me. You're not necessarily teaching on the subject yet. One day you guys probably will, and one day most of you might even be professionals as well too. So you're beginners. You're also consumers a little bit as well too, because you'll be going out and possibly buying photography equipment in the future after you learn about what kind of equipment is out there and exactly how it can be used. All right. So make sure that when you look at articles, you're looking at articles for beginners. Sometimes if you get into the experts or professionals, the information may go over your head, and I don't want you to become overloaded. Let's just focus on the beginner things. Everything will be fine. Next is coverage, all right? Does the information fully cover what you need? Maybe the information is too simple. Sometimes if the information is way too simple, might be a little bit of a red flag there. Is the information too technical or too complicated? That's the other side of things. If you have to run to a dictionary to try to figure out what they're saying, and quite honestly, with some of the photography things, you might have to, because the vocabulary can be kind of difficult, then, maybe that website's not quite what you need or not quite for beginners. Are there links to similar pages that will provide more information? And then last, are the links relevant, or are they just a collection of other sites? If they're just a collection of other sites, it needs to be relevant information. Most photography websites that I've been to do have reliable links that are relevant that should work pretty well, okay? Also, guys, just a quick reminder, if I'm going too fast, because I'm kind of going at my own pace here, pause the video at any time to get the information down. You can also rewind the video and go back to that slide and pause it right there to get all this information down in your notes as well too, okay? Style and functionality. Now, some people may laugh at that, okay? How does the site look? It needs to be well organized. It needs to be easy to navigate. If it's not, probably, again, not a reliable source of information because they're just kind of throwing anything that they want up there, all right? So, is the site designed clearly and logically with well-organized subsections? Is the writing style appropriate for the intended audience? Is the site easy to navigate? And of course it should be. Do any graphics enhance or clarify the information presented? Try to look for websites on photography that have both videos and have visual cues as well too, because those will be very important for you to need to see those, all right? Or do the graphics distract the user and slow down the transmission? If it just looks like someone threw up there on the page, pardon that expression, then probably, again, not a good website right there as well too, okay? So those were the notes over, I'm just going to go back to the first slide here, evaluating online sources. If you have any questions, let me know.